Their symbology will be their downfall. Q. World War III Biowar COVID-19 loaded with HIV proteins. Where are the quantum computers? Good evening and welcome to the 9:45 o'clock news with me, Yeltrah Nehpets. How you doing? Alright, let's just start off with the biggest one. World War III Biowar COVID-19. What's going on? Right, so I'm going to show you this guy on YouTube. He is... Alright, I've only seen him once. But he did a very good video talking about these HIV proteins being loaded into this COVID-19. So as I'm finding him, let's see, I haven't watched that much since I watched his video. This one here.
Okay, coronavirus, bioweapon, or accident of nature.
So this guy here, so you can check out his channel, George Webb, and basically I'll just summarize what he's saying. He's using the example of the genetic structure of coronavirus, right? There's been 6 of them before, going back to the 1960s, and he's using an analogy of comparing the genetic sequence of coronavirus to the works of Shakespeare. And what he's saying is that if stuff is added to that, it could be random. But what he's saying is that being added in there is like a whole nother book, chapters from a different book being slotted into the works of Shakespeare. And the other book are the HIV proteins. Now, right at the end, he then goes to say about, now this could be a perfectly, well, sort of perfectly, but quite a harmless thing in a sense. But there's this particular protein in the HIV proteins that is like an empty barrel of a gun that anything could be slotted into it, like anything, like a killer thing, like Ebola, whatever, something killer. So obviously, I don't know this guy's credentials or anything, but
Sometimes when you go to catch fish off a pier, right? You could go catch fish. You'll line them up, you know. Here's the biggest one, the next biggest one. When you have a fishing contest, you know, and you line them all up. Fish, every fish. None of the 9 subgenomic parts. In genes, you have different encoding, different codes. But if you look at the 9 strands of subgenomic material for COVID ID, you'll see these bands, these band lines, right? You'll see all the band lines, meaning that they're 9 of one thing. There are 9 copies of one thing for the coding regions. The only thing they did was added a little bit more RNA material on each successive genome to make it look like 9 different genes. And you'll see that the biochemists out there and so forth, doctors and so forth, will see what I'm saying is true when you look at the encoding regions. Look at the encoded regions and look at the striping. You'll see it's actually 9 of the same thing. The only thing that's different is the extension of the mRNA or the RNA material. So I'm going to leave it right there.
Sorry, he was talking about something completely different then, but
if it wasn't
probably just best to watch what he says. So it's kind of speculative. He says it's his theory. The guy's got 94,000 subscribers. they're currently, this one's been watched 25,000 times. So, you know, I'm sure if he was just making stuff up, he wouldn't have that sort of following. So he either does really good research, or this is a particular field that he has some knowledge about. So possibly there's two viruses. So his theory, if you boil it down, is there's two viruses out there, both of them man-made. One is basically like a vaccine, and the other one is a killer. And to me that doesn't fully add up, or I just haven't understood what he's on about. So that was the World War III Biowar thing, and you know, there's information for you if you want to check out more about COVID-19, but I'm finding COVID-19 a bit boring, and what I'm finding a bit more interesting is, let's turn that off. Should we have me in it? No. Is this first headline about their symbology will be their downfall. Q. Getting back into Q a bit more. It's good. Right. I've seen a red line. There we go. Right. So I had this interest in the pentagram, and because I saw it on the Mormon Church, and I've been checking out Joseph Smith because he is he could be one of my previous lives, or I was connected to him, so that's how I've had a recent interest in him. And seeing the pentagram, the upside down pentagram on the church, disturbed me a bit, because I thought that was a Satanist sort of thing. So I've been checking it out. So you can see, if you've been reading any of that there on the screen, that, you know, there's a mixture. It could be good, it could be bad, but in the old days it was not bad. Pentagons in general are good. Whether they're upside down, turning around, or whichever way they are, they do have a different meaning if they're upside down than if they're the right way up. But you see that one with the crucifix in the middle. Obviously this one is all saying upside down. It's just trying to be Satanist, isn't it? And then if it's red and if it's in blood, and you know, then they're just using it for their like evil. But that's not how it originated, and we're going to hear a bit more about that. So why don't I do this now? Play this for you. Oh yes, in here. Is this going to load quickly or not? Okay.
Further investigation reveals another occult symbol traced directly into the streets of Washington, D.C. A pentagram. And its southernmost tip.
So I just had to check then. My face isn't in the way, is it? No, sorry. Sorry!
Points directly to the White House.
Latter-day Saints are accused of being Satan worshipers because some of our early buildings, the Logan Temple, the Salt Lake Temple, the Nauvoo Temple, all three of them have inverted 5-part stars on them. There are 40 on the Salt Lake Temple. Every window on the Nauvoo Temple is an inverted pentagram in a circle surrounded by 3 stones at each of the 4 cardinal directions, 12 stones. Here we have an inverted pentagram surrounding the Nauvoo Temple.
Cardinal
the temple
directions,
designed
northeast,
by
southwest.
Joseph Smith,
Square.
the prophet of the Restoration. Why would he put a pentagram on one of the most important early temples? The pentagram is perhaps the oldest graphic symbol on the planet, discovered in ancient Babylon. For centuries, for millennia, it was tied to light, to creation to healing. Some of the old
things.
healing professions and doctors used the
Oh, good.
pentagram as a symbol of healing. Because it has those connections of light, divine geometry, healing and perfection, of course it would be tied to Jesus Christ, and it is. He cast out evil and darkness. He cast out evil spirits.
It started in 1855 with a French Catholic deacon who was also a Mason. He was kicked out of the Catholic Church. He was kicked out of Masonry. His name was Alphonse Louis Constant. He was into magic and into some unusual things. He took the upright five-pointed star, a symbol of light, and he inverted it and put it on his first book of magic, making it a symbol of the occult and darkness.
Alphonse Constant changed his name to be Hebrew, and he became known as Eliphaz Levi. This researcher of what he called the ancient doctrines used the pentagram in conjunction with the tetragrammaton to create a symbol blaspheming the sacred name of God. The tetragrammaton is Greek. It means 4 letters. The tetragrammaton has reference to the 4 letters in Hebrew which create the Lord's name. The Lord's name is pronounced by most biblical scholars in Hebrew linguists as Yahweh.
According to Jewish practice, the name of God is treated with such reverence that verbally pronouncing the name is avoided. Writing the name unnecessarily is also avoided, even resulting in abbreviations for the name.
The god of the occult is most commonly represented in satanic illustrations by the tetragrammaton. Occultists consider Hebrew names of God like Adonai and Elohim to hold power, and none of these is more powerful to them than the tetragrammaton. Clearly, the use of the tetragrammaton and other names of God by Satanists does not make the names of God evil any more than their adoption of the pentagram makes the pentagram evil.
In my era, when there was DVDs and videos that we'd rent, I'd go to the movie store and we'd see
Scary movies often had an inverted pentagram on it, and so I did a little survey, and I found about 10% of all the scary movies, especially those dealing with the occult, had an inverted pentagram in the circle on it. That's exactly the symbol that was on the Nauvoo temple. No wonder people associated Latter-day Saints with the occult.
What they don't understand is the history of that symbol.
That's right. They've just used it for their wicked imaginings. So, it used to be good. They just stole it and made it bad. It's just images. I was searching on the internet, which you've already seen in the film. And here again, it's just reiterating basically the inverted pentagram going towards the bottom. There's good stuff in it. Let me just read it. The inverted pentagram symbol looks like an upside down star, has come to be seen by many pagans as representing the dark side, and is abhorred as an evil symbol. Fundamental Christians indeed see any form of pentagram as such. However, these are recent developments, and the inverted pentagram is the symbol of Gardnerian second-degree initiation, representing the need of the witch to learn to face the darkness within, so that it may not later rise up to take control. The center of a pentagram implies a 6th formative element, love, which controls from within, ruling matter and spirit by will, and the controlled magical direction of sexual energies. Okay. So it's just, I like this, and why because he doesn't actually go on to say why Joseph Smith put it upside down, had all these upside down. And for me, one of the big things I feel at the moment is the lack of Mother God. They've got all these people who stick to the Bible and everything else, but you mention Mother God and they're like start wondering what you're on about. And specifically with me, when I've said about meditation, that you feel Mother God from beneath, in a sense that the entry point for Mother God's point into your soul is from beneath primarily, and God, Father God, is from above the from the crown, from above directly into the crown, and Mother God is directly from beneath. So for people to start thinking that there's a feeling coming from beneath, they might think, oh, this is devil, you know, because they have this skewed imagining that the devil is somehow half as powerful as God or something, you know. So, yeah. Go away now. Oh, right. Doing things I don't mean it to do. It's all jolly good. So I think we've finished with this slideshow here. Jolly good. Let's check the stream. Let's not leave it on that one. Let's check the stream. Ba-bum, ba-bum. Okay. Good. Right. So I think we're going to go to one of our correspondents. He is he's not that far away. I won't disclose his location though. So let's just go and talk to him now. Well, I can leave me up in the corner. Why don't I do this before we talk to?
Yeah, all right, Yeltrah? Yeah, not too bad, mate. Not too
good.
bad.
Good, thanks. Got it wrong, Gordon.
Yeah, my missus, she ain't very happy at the moment. She's not very happy
Oh,
with
isn't
me
she?
lately, so
Oh dear.
I had to come over my mum's, so...
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm not liking this lockdown. Not at all, Yeltrah. Not at all.
Oh, you're not following it
You
either.
know what, right? How's this work, right?
How's
Now,
what?
this virus, right, started with the animals, didn't it, right?
Yeah.
Wild animals.
Yeah. Back.
So how come, right? How come we're on lockdown and they're just fucking running about, flying about, doing what they like, right?
What?
I mean...
What, the animals?
It's hardly fair, is it? Is it, Yeltrah?
Well,
how's that fair, right?
well, I don't think... How could we... Oh,
how's that right?
How could
they
we lock...
fucking
what,
started it.
how could
They're
we lock
still
them down?
running about doing whatever they want to do, and here we are under fucking lockdown, mate. It's... What's going on, like?
Oh, yeah.
None of it makes sense anymore, man. None of it.
Well, there are a lot of weird
Jeez.
things about it.
They got to sort it out, they have. I mean, either lock everything down, right, or just let us out. Innit?
Well, yeah, I don't think locking the animals down would do much. I mean, he's a real idiot, isn't he? Right, speaking of idiots, let's move on to the next thing. Just quick check over here. Yes, still me. So let's have a bit of what would we like to say? Oh, actually, I just want to say this.
I got one thing to say to you. Do you feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
That sounded like me. It actually wasn't. We'll let you guess who it is. Right, as I said, speaking of idiots, we've got this bunch here. This bunch, Fabian, the Fabian Society. Oh dear. And actually, this does link in with their symbology will be their downfall. Our history. The Fabian Society is Britain's oldest political think tank. Founded in 1884, The Society has been at the forefront of developing political ideas and public policy on the left for over 130 years. Okay, so they've been around, and since the last 130 years is when everything's been going wrong. So here's George Bernard Shaw. I am a communist, but not a member of the Communist Party. Stalin is a first-rate Fabian. I am one of the founders of Fabianism, and as such, very friendly to Russia. I've got nothing against him being friendly to Russia, but saying Stalin is a first-rate Fabian, well, Stalin and Lenin, they were in the same thing, killed millions. The Fabian name. Fabian society derives its name from the Roman general Quintus Fabius, known as Cunctator. Cunctator. From his strategy of delaying his attacks on the invading Carthaginians until the right moment. The name Fabian Society was explained in the first Fabian pamphlet, which carried the note: "For the right moment you must wait, as Fabius did most patiently, when warring against Hannibal, though many censured his delays. But when the time comes you must strike hard, as Fabius did, or your waiting will be in vain and fruitless." So strike hard! Look. I'm going to go forward and then I'm going to go back. So that bloke, he's striking something. He's striking. They're going to strike hard, aren't they? Zena Parker on seeing the 1945 Parliamentary Labour Party in conclave. 229 Fabian Society members were elected to Parliament in the 1945 Labour landslide, with many of them ministers in the Attlee administration. Right, so 229. I think they had less MPs back then. That's nearly a majority on its own. Probably not quite. But if your party is the majority and 229 of your party are members, you've got to listen to them. They're basically the power. And what happened then? Development of the NHS in England and Wales, 1948 to 1969. The National Health Service Act of 1946. Things start with an act, don't they? So the NHS is Fabian. New Labour just wanted to say that this is the first time they mention the NHS. There's no mention of it in their achievements. You'd think they would. I wonder why they haven't. Why wouldn't they want to draw attention to that? But here just saying, basically just showing that Tony Blair's a right Fabian and Ed Balls and raised taxes to fund the NHS. There is this stained glass window. There is the emblem in the middle, the wolf in sheep's clothing. And I said this years ago on my older channel, I think even, but I've said it repeatedly. The NHS is the wolf in sheep's clothing. Their treatments for things are barbaric. Yet, you can't say a word against them. And I'm not against the nurses and the doctors. But who decides the treatments? Who trains doctors in medicine and just doesn't think it necessary to remind them that, there's some herbs out there which do some good. Basically, doctors are some of the most brainwashed people. In their 7-year term in university, they have to work as a young doctor, and the young doctors are sleep deprived purposely. It's trauma inducing brainwashing. there's the full stained glass window, which we see it being unveiled by Tony Blair. This is known about. If you can't justify your existence, if you're not pulling your weight in the social boat, if you're not producing as much as you consume or perhaps a little more, then clearly we cannot use the big organization of our society for the purpose of keeping you alive. So this is George Bernard Shaw again, who was a big fan of eugenics and, led into the Nazis because he was around a bit before the Nazis in the 20s, I think. So yeah, again, like Q symbolism will be their downfall. They've given themselves away. Enough people know about this to know that it's true. So that was them, the idiots. There we go. Let's see how the stream's going. It's not whinging about anything too much. That's good so far. So what we're doing then, how are we doing in this lockdown? Even as me, it's not changed my life that much. I certainly feel the difference. I can feel it in everyone out there. Where are the quantum computers? We haven't heard anything about them, have we? Because they don't work. They don't do anything. Computers work because they're either a 0 or a 1. If they can't be either a 0 or a 1, then they're not going to work. You could have some sort of parallel system, a gradient of voltages across from 0 to 1, but that would just be a parallel computer. Anyway, I knew it was all rubbish. This thing about COVID-19 being loaded with HIV proteins, I'll try and do some checking on that, because I just don't, not feeling that one, but it would fit in with this sort of war. Maybe one side made one COVID-19 and then another side made another one. It's so confusing. It is blooming just confusing. All we can do really is wait and see on this one. Just wanted to mention, I was sitting outside earlier. I went out for just quick sort of 20 minutes, get some sun on my skin. Well, I'd already been out earlier, been to the shops and back today. On my back, anyway. And I sat down and just seeing the spring in bloom with my trees in the back, cherries in blossom. And it's quite late this year, I think. Anyway, it just looks so beautiful, and the birds it was a busy time for the birds, and they were swooping in, swooping there, lots of different types of birds, and I just thought, this is so beautiful. And I thought, if I'd had my camera on me, if I'd had my phone on me, I would have taken a picture. But there's so many times before when I see something in nature and I think I should take a picture and share it, but I always get the feeling that nature doesn't want that. Nature wants you there experiencing it with you. And I think, when I see other people put lovely pictures of nature up, I think, yeah, but I'm also thinking, oh, you lucky git. I wish I was seeing what you're seeing. It's almost like a cheat, and I don't think nature likes it. The Africans, they never liked people taking their picture, and the native Indians, don't take my picture, Something about it, isn't it? Nature, I don't think nature likes it. Often I've got this idea in me is because on a few occasions when I thought, I will try and capture some of this wonderfulness in nature that I see even in my own small gardens, but then it never comes out. Like rainbows never come out, brilliant views never come out, do they? So you always lose the essence anyway, so you might as well not bother. And maybe nature would prefer it if we didn't. Observe it yourself. Maybe that's the thing. Okay, right, well, I think, let's see, I think we've done mostly the meant to do here, and all that is left is to play this one more time, and then
I got
leave you
one
with a
thing to
song.
say to you. Do you feel lucky? Well, do you? Punk?
Right. Goodbye. Hello. Goodbye. This is Fall from the Stars by Simply Red.
Anyone who ever held you will tell you the way I'm feeling. Anyone who ever wanted you tried to tell you what I feel inside. The only thing I ever wanted was the feeling that you went faking. The only one you ever thought about. Wait a minute, can't you see? I wanna fall from the stars straight into your arms, and I feel you. I hope you comprehend. For the man who tried to hurt you, he's explaining the way I'm feeling. For all the jealousy I caused you, states the reason why I'm trying to hide. As for all the things you told me, it sends my future into clearer dimensions. Never know how much you hurt me. Stay a minute, can't you see? I wanna fall from the stars straight into your arms, and I feel you. I hope you comprehend. Too many hearts are broken by your lover's promise came with a maybe. Too many words are left unspoken. Silent voices are driving me crazy. After all the pain you caused me, making up can never be your intention. Never know how much you hurt me. Wait a minute, can't you see? I wanna fall from the stars straight into your arms, and I feel you. I hope you comprehend. I wanna fall from the stars straight into your arms, and I feel you. I hope you comprehend.
Yeah, wasn't that lovely? Right. On that. I don't mind if this is cut off. Their symbology will be their downfall. Q. World War III, Biowar, COVID-19, loaded with HIV proteins. Where are the quantum computers? Right. Bye-bye.